Greetings. Let's get started with today's class. So, in the previous class we had a broad overview of dynamic systems. We learnt about what is called as a system, what is a dynamic system, what were the different classes of dynamic systems, based on certain attributes. And we learned that the class of dynamic systems that we would deal in this course come under what are called as linear time invariant, causal, single input, single output dynamic systems, right. So, that is something which we learned in the previous class. Additionally, we of course, we learned the definitions of each of these words that we use along with the word systems. That is, we learned what is meant by a linear system, a time invariant system, a causal system, and so on. And then we looked at what is meant by an open loop system, what is meant by a closed loop system, and we looked at the concept of feedback, and we essentially drew the basic layout of a closed loop control system with feedback, and that is where we stopped. So, we are going to essentially continue from that point and discuss a few more concepts that would provide a big picture view of this particular course before we go into mathematical preliminaries in the next lecture. So, let us get started. If you recall, for us a system is an entity to which we provide an input u of t and we get an output y of t. So, if we want to regulate the value of the system output y of t around a desired point or in a desired region, what we do is that we give what is called as a reference input, which is denoted by r of t. Okay. Of course, please note that in this particular course, since we are dealing with dynamic systems, time is the independent variable. That is something which we have already realized. So, time is our independent variable. That means that all other variables are functions of time. Okay. So, we see that the input u of t, u, y and the reference input in general can be functions of time. So, let us say we measure this output and then feed it back and compare the value of the output with that of the reference input, we get an error E of t. The error is the difference between the desired value of the output and the actual output that we are obtaining at each and every instant of time. So, we pass this error through an element called as the controller, which then calculates what should be the input that needs to be provided to the system, so that I can follow the desired output r of t. So, in other words, the controller is the block that takes in the error between what is desired and what is actually obtained, and then calculates what should be the corresponding input that needs to be provided to the system. So, when the controller calculates the system input and provides it to the same, the function u of t is then called as a control input. Okay. So, this is a broad what to say visualization of a closed loop control system with feedback. Of course, in this case it is what is called as negative feedback. So, the reason Why it is called as negative feedback is because at the summing junction where we are having this, we are comparing the reference input to the output, we are essentially taking a difference between R of t and y of t. So, it is called as negative feedback. Okay. Of course, there can be various other attributes that can be added to this basic closed loop structure, and that is something which we are going to essentially look at now. So, this path wherein we go from the controller to the system and then to the output is what is called as a forward path, okay. And this path wherein we essentially give the measurement of the output back to the summing junction so that we can calculate the error which then goes to the controller is what is called as a feedback path. Okay. And in this feedback path, typically one essentially can have other dynamic components which can basically, which may need to be modeled depending on what we do with the system. So, for example, one would typically use an sensor to measure the system output. Then if a sensor is used to measure the system output, then one may need to take into account the dynamics of the sensor that is used. So, in other words, there is an additional attribute called sensor dynamics that may come into picture like in the feedback path. So, what do we mean by that? Suppose let us say like let us say we essentially want to control the temperature of air in a room. Then what can happen is that if I use a temperature sensor to measure the temperature of air in a room, that sensor may have its own response characteristics. In other words, if I use the sensor to measure the temperature at this instant of time, it may not show the temperature value instantaneously. So, the correct value at this instant of time may be showed after a certain response time, which needs to be characterized by what is called as sensor dynamics. Now, the question that we need to ask ourselves when we design this closed loop control system is that what is the time scale of the sensor's response with regards to the time scale of the system's response. See, for example, let us say if my system responds in a matter of seconds, and if I have a sensor which can provide accurate measurements in a matter of milliseconds, then I may not need to really worry about the sensor dynamics. On the other hand, if a system responds in a matter of seconds and the sensor also has a corresponding response time in the order of seconds, then I may need to incorporate the effect of sensor dynamics. So, typically sensor dynamics may come into picture like when we essentially consider the feedback path, okay. And by analogy or correspondingly, an additional component called an actuator may come in the forward path. So, what is this? So, the controller calculates the control input and then like provides the control input to the system, right. But we need some element to physically realize this control input. So, let me give an example. Suppose like we want to essentially drive a car autonomously, okay. So, let us consider the task of steering a car. So, the angle which is provided at the steering wheel is the input to the system, and the orientation of the car can be considered as the output from the system. Now, if I want a certain orientation for the car, right, then I design a controller to calculate what should be the steering wheel input that should be provided at each and every instant of time. Now, how do I realize it in practice? I may put a motor at the steering linkages to essentially rotate them by a desired angle, whatever the controller calculates. Now, let us say at this instant of time, I want the steering let us say linkage or steering column to be rotated by let us say 40 degrees. Now the thing is whether I achieve that 40 degree steering angle instantaneously. The answer may be most probably not. Let us say I use a motor to rotate the steering column. If I give a command now, it may take some time before which the steering column may be actually rotated by the control input angle of 40 degrees. So that aspect or that attribute needs to be characterized by what is called as actuator dynamics. So actuator dynamics essentially incorporates the dynamics of actuators and the response characteristics of actuators that essentially take the controller's control input and realize it in the physical world. So that is where actuator dynamics comes into play. So one may need to consider what is called as actuator dynamics. Once again it is all relative, you know, like so if the actuator responds very fast when compared to the system's dynamic characteristics, right, then one may need not consider actuator dynamics. One can neglect actuator dynamics. On the other hand, let us say the system responds in a matter of seconds and the actuator also responds in a matter of seconds, right, then we need to consider actuator dynamics while modeling the entire closed loop control system. Okay. So that is something which we should realize. So sensor dynamics and actuator dynamics become important, you know, when we design these closed loop control systems for real world applications. So what are the other attributes that we need to consider in this what to say block diagram? Most often we can have disturbances coming into play. So what are these? You know, like disturbances are essentially unwanted stimuli, you know, like which essentially affect the system's output. For example, let us say I am driving a car, you know, I may have, you know, some crosswind which is blowing on the road, you know, which can act as a disturbance and it may try to change the orientation of the car. So although in the ideal world I want the orientation of the car to change only when I turn the steering wheel, a strong crosswind can create a disturbance, you know, which can potentially lead to a change in the car's orientation. So then the question is that, like, how does one consider the effect of disturbances and account for them, you know, like that's a question one needs to ask, right, when designing this closed loop control system. So the effect of disturbances may play a role, may play an important role, and then we need to design a controller that is robust enough to these disturbances. Okay, yeah. So these are some elements that we need to consider in the feedback diagram, and if you recall, the class of systems that we have been considering fall under single input, single output, causal, linear time invariant, dynamic systems, right. So this is the class of systems that we have been we are going to look at, and this is the class of systems that we identified in the previous class. It so happens that if we want to essentially model this class of systems using mathematical models, the mathematical models that are typically used for this class of systems, by and large, you know, like take the form of linear ordinary differential equations with constant coefficients. So the mathematics that we use in this particular course would essentially be will compose of related topics, right. So we will briefly recap ordinary differential equations, complex variables, Laplace transform, and so on, you know, like that one typically learns in a course involving ordinary differential equations, right. So depending on how one essentially goes about analyzing these ODEs to essentially study the system's response, one could have two representations of the mathematical model that characterizes this class of system. So if one uses what is called as the Laplace transform, then we get what is known as a transfer function representation. So, this is once again a representation of this dynamic system. And this is the representation that we would predominantly use in this particular course, okay, the transfer function representation, that is by using the Laplace transform. On the other hand, let us say, like I do not apply the Laplace transform on the governing equations, but I stay in the time domain itself. What do I mean by that? So, if we would be recapping Laplace transforms what to say in the next class. But then, like if you recall from engineering mathematics courses, like Laplace transform essentially takes functions that are that depend on, that are essentially real valued functions of real variables, and then they convert them to complex valued functions, right. So, in the complex domain. So, but then let us say I stay in the time domain itself, like I do not want to go to the complex domain. So, then like what we typically do is that we rewrite the governing ODE in the as a set of first order differential equations, and then we get what is called as a state space representation of this class of systems, okay. So, in this particular course we would learn both representations, okay, like both the transfer function representation and the state space representation, but predominantly we are going to what to say look at the transfer function representation, okay. All the analysis and what to say control design is going to be done using the transfer function representation, okay. So, these are two common representations of this class of systems that we are studying in this particular course, okay. So, now there are a few more concepts that we would be discussing, like with respect to the general closed loop control system, okay. So, let me write down a set of points, okay. So, depending on what is the mapping in the feedback path, we can have what is called as a unity and non-unity feedback, okay. So, what is unity feedback? If the mapping in the feedback path is 1, okay, is unity or 1, okay, then it is called as unity feedback. If not, it is called as non-unity feedback, right. So, we would use this definition later on, okay. So, because we would have okay, mappings in the feedback path which are going to be represented by corresponding transfer functions, and if we essentially have unity feedback, that particular transfer function for the feedback path will be 1, okay. So, we are going to learn all these ideas later on in the course, but this is a definition of what is called as unity feedback, okay. So, that is something which we should remember, okay. So, then second point is that as far as this particular course on control systems is concerned, so any design of a control system has two important aspects, okay. So, if I am designing a controller for a dynamic system, I always need to focus on two important attributes. So, what are they? So, the first one is what is called as stability, and the second one is what is called as performance. So, all of us can get a very intuitive idea by looking at these terms, right, stability and performance. For a control system designer, stability is paramount. That means that we need to design systems that are stable in the first place. Then we essentially look at their performance characteristics, then we try to design controllers so that their performance could be improved. So, we are going to carefully define stability and performance and also like identify quantities and parameters that would essentially be utilized in quantifying performance characteristics. Okay. So, that is something which we are going to do later. But see, for example, like what do we mean by stability? Like let me give an example. Let me stay with the what to say example of a car steering that we have been considering, right. Let us say I am driving a car and let us say in some scenarios like I give a steering input. So, and then like if the conditions happen to be such that my car may spin out of control, right. So, one would intuitively call that scenario as the car being unstable, right. I give essentially a steering wheel angle input and let us say the car spins out of control due to whatever what to say reasons, and then the system's response would be unstable. Okay. So, a stable response means like I would want the system's response like to be as we desire in a very finite range, like for a finite input which is given. Okay. We will carefully define all these ideas shortly. What is performance? Performance can essentially be visualized through like how fast let us say the system responds. Let us say like I am designing one steering system and someone else is designing another steering system for the same car, right. Let us say both of us give the same input to the steering wheel. Let us say my car is able to take a turn faster and more accurately, then I would say that my steering system is performing better for that particular car, right, would I not? So, we would use notions like these to essentially come up with parameters that can be used to quantify performance of a dynamic system. That is something which we are going to do. Okay. So, these are concepts that give us a big picture what to say view of what we are going to learn in this particular course.